I found this recipe for garlic mozzarella bread from YouTube, made some adjustments, and I thought I would share it to all my viewers as well. It does not just look great, but it actually tastes as good as it looks. On top of that, it is really easy and pretty quick to make, since it does not require long fermentation times. As usual, I'm going to start with the dry ingredients. 250 grams of all-purpose flour or bread flour. I'm using my regular bread flour that I use for everything. For this recipe, the flour does not matter that much since the mozzarella and garlic will be the main actors, not the structure of the bread itself. Next in goes 3 grams of dry yeast, 4 grams of salt and 10 grams of sugar. I believe the sugar should help the yeast to rise better, since in this case we are not going to give this hours and hours to develop, so some extra rising power is definitely welcome here. I give the dry stuff a quick stir around before adding in 150 grams of warm water. Milk would also work great for slightly smoother texture. I mix this around with a spoon until the spoon becomes useless and add in a splash of olive oil. I continue to mix things up by hand until there is no dry flour left. I try to use the dough itself to get any excess flour from the sides of the bowl, and when I think I have gotten everything that there was to get, it's time to put on a plastic wrap and move on to the garlic butter mixture. I start by removing the end parts of a few garlic cloves and peeling them. Then slice these somewhat thinly and just run the knife through these a couple of times to avoid large pieces of garlic. I'm going to put all of these into whatever this is called, followed by some dried chives for color and taste, as well as a couple of tablespoons of butter. I try to take thin slices from the butter as well, so it will soften while the dough is developing. I'm not going to bother trying to mix these just yet, the butter is just too hard for it. Microwaving the butter will cause it to melt too much. I do not want the butter to be too runny, just soft enough so it can be easily mixed with the garlic, and to be spread on top of the bread. Quick reminder to do the right thing, and no, I definitely did not subscribe to my own channel, it was for educational purposes only. Anyway, after some time the butter has softened enough so it can be smoothly turned from butter into garlic butter, simply by pressing stuff together with a spoon. Then it's time to start working on the dough. I put some flour on top of a parchment paper on the dough, folding it inwards to make it into a round ball. Kind of like shaping a pizza dough. Then I press it down to form this kind of shape, and when it feels it doesn't stretch any further, I put the plastic wrap back on just for a while and let it rest for a little bit longer. Fresh mozzarella is one of the key ingredients here. This is around 100 grams, you can use more, but I would not suggest using any less. I make thin strips that are easy to press into the dough. One way of knowing whether your mozzarella is suitable for this recipe is to have a professional tasting expert at your disposal. I think this one has been confirmed. Next, it's time to make some cuts to the dough. At first the idea was to stuff the mozzarella into these cuts, but I think it just helps the bread to get more flavor from the garlic butter. I would also suggest getting your sharpest knife to do this job and let the knife do the work for you instead of pressing it down too much with a dull knife as seen on the screens. Anyway, after I have some nice cuts made to the dough, I spread the garlic butter mixture on top of this as evenly as possible, trying to get at least some butter into the cuts we just made. And finally it's time to add the mozzarella into the dough as well. As I mentioned, the idea was originally to add it into the cuts, but since they are nowhere to be seen, I simply brute force them into the dough where I think there might be a cut. When the bread looks like this, which is amazing, I set my oven to preheat into 200 degrees Celsius or roughly 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Also adding the plastic wrap back on, just in case. I like to give the dough some final time to rise before the oven. That's why I did not preheat the oven beforehand. After a few minutes when my turbo oven was done, it's time to get some heat to this thing. Oh, and just a friendly reminder, remove the plastic wrap before doing that. I almost forgot to take it off before the oven. Unless you want some extra flavor from the plastic, of course. And now let's take a moment and enjoy together this quick time lapse of 20 minutes when the bread slowly rises and your whole house fills with the smell of fresh garlic butter. Just amazing. After exactly 20 minutes, the bread looks perfect. I would suggest waiting a couple of minutes before trying to eat it, unless your mouth is used to eating things that are hotter than the sun. Optionally, you can add even more butter on top of the bites after cutting it or tearing it into pieces. That made this even better. I also want to bring your attention to this tool I made for my website, which is completely free and available without any sign-ups. It can help you to convert recipes into different sizes, also giving you the hydration and recommended salt and dry yeast amounts. It also gives you some extra tips on what kind of flour to use for different hydrations. It is quite handy and I use it occasionally when I do not want to follow an exact recipe. It gives me some idea on the hydration as well as how much salt to use. Anyway, the link for the calculator will be in the description below, as well as the recipe for this bread. Thanks for watching. If you had fun watching this, consider subscribing and giving this video a like.